Welcome back, gang. It's a controversy that's roiled one of baseball team's high-flying season. The Baltimore Orioles have made waves for their success on the field this year, but it's their broadcast that has fans and other broadcasters raising eyebrows tonight. Orioles TV broadcaster Kevin Brown has been off the air on the team-owned network MASN since July 26th. And after recent reporting, the Orioles are disputing reports that they've suspended him. Sports media blog Awful Announcing reported Monday that the Orioles suspended Brown indefinitely for on-air comments. Their reporting pointed to a July 23rd broadcast when the Orioles played at the Tampa Bay Rays. Brown pointed out that Baltimore had an opportunity to win their first series at Tampa Bay since 2017 and that they had lost all but 3 games at Tampa Bay the last 3 seasons. Awful Announcing cited multiple anonymous sources who said Brown has been suspended and that pointing out that factoid was why he's been off the air. The Athletic reported Brown was removed after owner John Angelos took exception to Brown's comments and the graphic, and that ownership thought made the team look cheap. Fellow MLB broadcasters responded to the reporting about Brown's disappearance Monday, with announcers for several teams criticizing the Orioles over Brown's removal. The Orioles, MASN, and Brown did not respond to requests from Scripps News for comment. But the team gave a statement to Awful Announcing saying, "We don't comment on personnel matters, and we look forward to hearing Kevin's voice soon." The outlet noted the team disputes that any suspension took place. Joining us now is Andrew Bucholtz. He's a reporter at Awful Announcing who broke this story. Andrew, Brown has been off the air for a couple of weeks, but that seems not entirely uncommon. So how did a story like this come together? How did your reporting lead you to assert that this is a suspension and not something more routine?
Yeah, absolutely. There are certainly cases where broadcasters are not on for a little while, but it's a little rare to see it for this length of time, with it being someone who is such a primary broadcaster for the team. And we were not the first to take notice of Brown's absence. This actually has been a conversation that's been going on in some of the Orioles message boards and so on for the last week or so. We became aware of it after seeing some further chatter around it on Twitter. We then did a lot of publicly available research, which can be found of what can be found on the message boards of people talking about this and raising suspicions that his comments were what got him removed. Since then, before we went live with any of this, we got our own multiple independent sources, and we're absolutely sure to verify that they were all telling the same story, that these comments are why Brown was removed. The team disputes that it is a suspension. We have included their statement to us in our piece, but they have not indicated that they have not denied that it is the comments that got that are why Brown isn't there.
Yeah, we should note again the Orioles aren't offering a lot of comment, but Deny Brown was officially suspended, as you just said. But looking at what you laid out in your story, why would comments like this even get Brown taken off the air? Why would ownership think it made them look cheap?
That is the big question, and that is what really has been remarkable about this story is the support that Brown is seeing. Uh, Announcers from around Major League Baseball have weighed in support of him, and not just in comments to media. They've done so in their own broadcasts on the air. In particular, on Monday night, a ton of broadcasters on feeds of all sorts of different teams did exactly that. And they spoke out in very high favor of Brown, and not just who he is, but of the comments he made here and how appropriate they were. We've also seen that in commentary from further media figures. We see it in commentary from broadcasters in other sports, and even tonight at the Orioles game, as we just wrote about, a "Free Kevin Brown" chant broke out in the stands. So there is a lot of support here for Brown, and there are a lot of people who do not think that those comments are worth any level of removing someone.
Yeah, I don't want to get nobody in trouble, but have you heard from Brown himself? Is he talking to you all about how he's doing? Maybe not the nature of why he's not announcing, but have you heard from him yourself?
We have not spoken to Brown personally, no.
Gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to make sure to get that out of the way. This wouldn't be the first time the Angelos family, who owns the team, has run into issues relating to announcers and perceived criticism of the team. Announcer John Miller left the team in 1996, in part after his criticism of the team on air when they didn't play well, upset ownership. Baseball owners are an eccentric bunch, but how distinct are Peter and John Angelos here?
Yeah, I think you hit on a really important thing there. That this is not the first controversy with the Orioles, and it's certainly not the first controversy with their announcers. A lot of people have looked back to the John Miller situation, and what was interesting about that situation and what differs from this is in that situation, Peter Angelos was very much went on the record talking about how he wanted to hear his broadcasters be more positive. John Miller obviously has gone on to a very successful career, a Hall of Fame career elsewhere, working with ESPN, working with the San Francisco Giants, and beyond. And so there's clearly a lot of demand for how John Miller approaches the game and how he handles it. But that wasn't loved by the Orioles, and it's interesting that they're not being on the record about this at this point. They're not saying that outwardly that they had a specific issue with what Brown did here, but it's very interesting to see what looks like a similar story.
Yeah. Baseball fans have a special relationship with announcers, often looking to them to be voices of the fans, but usually they're team employees and might not be able to criticize the team the same way an independent reporter might. How many limitations are announcers at most other clubs usually under? Just kind of pull back the curtain for us a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think a really interesting thing that has come out in the wake of this is a lot of announcers are being very frank in talking about what they are and what they are able to say and what they're maybe not able to say. But in most cases, they're not revealing that they're not allowed to say many things, and that seems to be the general approach seems to be that most owners are fine with their announcers providing criticism when warranted, as long as it's warranted. When it comes to local broadcasts, there is always going to be, there probably is usually going to be at least some expectation that the broadcast is for fans of that team. And so I think we do see a little bit more positivity there maybe than you would on a national broadcast. But with that said, the best local broadcasts always are fair and they're critical when warranted. And the vast majority of teams seem fine with that.
Yeah. Andrew Bucholtz, staff writer and editor for Awful Announcing and an author on the story that broke the news of Kevin Brown's status. Thank you so much for joining us.